check out the content on Brandon with a Y and here on NowayitsBrandyn. NowayitsBrandyn, power to the gamer. Rated E for everyone. Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back. You guys know who it is. It's your guy, NowayitsBrandyn, coming at you guys again with another video for today. How you guys doing, man? You guys doing well? You guys doing great? You guys doing absolutely stupendously fantastic as always, guys. We are back right at it with some more Halo Infinite today, and we are joining up in a game in progress here. But let's just dive right into this raw, I guess. But anyway, man, hopefully everyone's having a fantastic day, fantastic week, whatever you guys happen to be watching this, man. Hey, before I forget, feel free to check out my animation channel at Brandon with the Y, and consider being a member here on the channel, man. We got some cool channel membership emojis for you guys to use and some channel membership badges that I created for you guys to use, and they're actually Halo themed. So I got some Halo themed badges here for you guys on the channel. But yeah, I want to see if I can get points up on the board here. I don't have a BR or anything right now, unfortunately. But yeah, man, I want to touch up on this topic for today. So this may not be news to some of you guys that are into the Halo space, but I do want to kind of give my thoughts on it. So a little while ago, there is this whole beef, this whole drama going on with Space Station Gaming and the Halo competitive space, and there was elements of it that I wanted to really focus up on. And so I was watching this video a little while ago, excuse me. And so it was a video about, or it was a video of Lucid talking about the whole thing, right? So there was like a side comment that Lucid had, and he was saying how, man, it's crazy that, you know, pro players have to resort to this, you know, drama because there's like, you know, or like Halo, it's not in a good spot. So he was saying how Halo isn't in a good spot, thus players have to resort to all this drama, right? Bickering at each other, all this back and forward. And so my thing is like, okay, well, I don't, you know, he didn't really elaborate on it, on that specific point, but I'm gonna have to assume that Lucid is kind of referring to the whole competitive space of Halo. I mean, maybe just Halo as a whole, because as you guys know, like, this is no surprise. When Halo Infinite dropped in 2021, there was a big buzz around it, right? You know, people were hopping on the game, and people were like, oh my god, Halo's back, this, that, and the other. And so I think sometime late or maybe mid 2022, Halo really dropped off. I mean, it really hasn't recovered, you know, to the numbers and just to the place that it was in, you know, at launch, right? So I don't know if that's specifically what Lucid is referring to, but I know for sure he's mainly talking about the whole competitive space. But I mean, it's just like, well, one, I don't think personally that players are bickering at each other because, you know, they're trying to put Halo in like a better spot, or they're trying to make Halo relevant. But I will say, like, I've definitely seen some videos recently on YouTube where, you know, they have to do with Halo, and Halo's been getting you know, slightly more attention than usual. But it is because of the drama. But I mean, it's like, I don't think it is solely because Halo is in a bad spot that players are deciding to bicker at each other. You know, I just think that there is some frustration with, you know, just how players compete in general. So I don't think Halo, you know, not being in the best place, especially with Halo Infinite, is like the main reason why players are going at each other. I think that at the core of it, the frustration is just players want to win, players want to succeed, you know, players want titles, right? So just like with any other sport, I mean, people want to win. I mean, players want to be in the best position possible. And it's like, what I think what ends up happening is like players will end up taking things kind of personal. And so instead of just kind of, how do you say, instead of just kind of owning up to the whole, like, yeah, sometimes people just don't like you in certain moments, like with Lucid's sake. Not Lucid's sake, but for Lucid's position, rather. I think it is mainly Stellar. Like, there's this player named Stellar that was on Lucid's team, or they were on the same team, SSG. Stellar, I just don't think got along with Tommy, i.e. Lucid, as teammates, as people with good chemistry, and just kind of basing it off how everything went down, just with their communication on the team, off the team. Sometimes people just don't vibe like that, and so I definitely think it's more of just like a players don't like each other sometimes thing, more so than oh, Halo is in a bad spot thing. Because let's just say if Halo were in a good spot, take the same situation and Halo is in a better spot as a franchise, this is still a problem. I don't think, for Stellar on SSG, I definitely don't think he came at Tommy a certain way because Halo isn't in a good spot. But also with some nuance, because this was more so of a side comment. I think Lucid just kind of meant all encompassing. Like, all players, a lot of players are kind of frustrated with where Halo is, but it's like, kind of focusing on the main meat and potatoes of this whole thing. It's like, well, setting aside other player frustration, when you just look at Lucid's specific situation with SSG, it's like, I don't think this is oh, Halo is in a bad spot situation. I personally don't think that has anything to do with it. I simply think this is just players don't vibe. There's just frustration because, players specifically, people that are really competitive, they have a specific way that they want to play. They have a way that they've won before. And sometimes when you're teaming up with new people that have won in different ways, you're going to have some clash. You're going to have people and players that are going to have different ideas brought to the table. Because just in case you guys aren't familiar with these two players, Lucid and Stellar, these guys have both been on teams that were very successful, that have both won championships. So it's like, you gotta think about, I don't know, let's just say you maybe put Stephen Curry and maybe LeBron James on the same team. I mean, it's gonna be a bit of a learning curve for them to probably, figure it out for a little while, right? But, I don't know how Steph Curry and LeBron James are going to be individually as it pertains to figuring out the chemistry, what to do, what not to do, kind of their ebb and flow. But, it could maybe work out in such a way where, like, Steph Curry and LeBron James, when they were on Team USA, right? I'm sure that there were some things that could have been ironed out, but it's like, those two guys know that they both came from teams that have won a lot, right? Won a lot of championships. So, there is like a certain level of professionalism where you have to set aside, oh, this is how I won. This is how I won. You should play this way. You should play that way. And so I think what is lacking a lot with, say, SSG situation is all players being on the same page in regard to, okay, listen, I came from a different situation. You come from this situation. Let's figure out how we can set aside our egos, right? And figure out how to make this team work. And so, just for full disclosure, none of us know what happened behind closed doors, right? I mean, none of us really know what goes on during practices, during VOD, whenever teams are kind of watching over film, stuff like that. No one knows for sure. Oh, wait, I'm about to get rinsed. Nobody knows for sure everything that was said, how things went down. But what is pretty apparent to me is that these guys couldn't really set aside as a whole their whole, I don't want to say ego, but just like knowing that they come from something different teams, different ways of playing Halo, and like they were not able to do what like Stephen Curry and what LeBron James did on Team USA, right? These guys weren't able to say, hey, can you try doing this? Can you try doing that? Without it, you know, turning into something insane. So that's something that I think not every single player in the Halo space, quite frankly, knows how to do. That's not something that I've seen really practiced too well, because I just don't know if it's purely like a gaming world thing. Because at least from what I can see, I mean, there are some cases in the sports world where players come together and then it kind of ends up turning sour. But I see it more so happen in the gaming world, at least for me. I can be wrong, but for me, it's like there should definitely be more of that, like setting your ego aside practice in the gaming world and in the Halo space, because it's like I could definitely understand, you know, someone coming in. Let's just say if I won like 3 championships, right? I could definitely understand wanting to be the guy on my team, like, hey, can you make these changes? Can you play this way? Can you play that way? To maybe someone that hasn't won nearly as much as I have, but they've also won. You know, there are different ways of finding success on different teams, but it's like people are always going to have their own ideas of how to win and how people should play, whether if it's sports, whether if it's Halo. So it's just kind of this funny dance that players got to walk. So I just think at the end of the day, it was like Stellar and Lucid just being very, very opposite on how they operate just as people and how they operate as teammates, as competitors. Because it's like, man, when you have people in like the highest of levels in anything, they're going to have a crazy ego, you know, whether they want to admit it or not. Sometimes there's just no way of really getting around that. And it's just like, damn, you know, sometimes you just got to learn to, or rather, sometimes you just have to know when to chalk it and to not blame like the state of a franchise, not to blame the state of a game, because it's kind of like if players are bickering in the NBA and instead of focusing on the issues within the team, they're like, oh, it's the league's fault. You know, it's because of the rules. It's because of this. It's because of that. They'll kind of blame everything outside of it instead of looking at themselves and saying, hey, maybe we're just not a good fit. You know, it's okay to say you're not a good fit, but that's kind of my whole perspective on that. So as it pertains to Lucid, you know, giving that side comment about, oh, Halo isn't in a good place, thus a lot of the pros are kind of going at each other's throats. I don't think it has much to do with the game. It more so has to do with just frustration, maybe in the competitive space, and maybe with just players wanting to win a lot, because listen, everybody wants to win, you know, everybody wants success. So that's kind of my perspective on the whole thing, but I digress. But hey, you guys let me know what you think about all this stuff. But that is pretty much going to have to do it for this one. If you guys can please like, subscribe, comment, and enjoy the content, that'd be absolutely stupendously fantastic as always, guys. And as usual, I will see you in the next one, and cue the outro.